Okay, so good evening to you all, to those who are now joining. This is Dr. Matthews-Bey. Greetings to you, my brothers and sisters in the Corporation of Guyana. Islam to you, my Moors, my Moorish brothers and sisters all across the Americas. Islam to you. And I pray that you're in good health as you receive this message from your Aboriginal brother, Dr. Matthews-Bey. All right, so I was on earlier and I realized I get cut off, so I have to do it the next way around. But I bear that you be patient with me as I exercise this comprehending matters at hand. So, there is a few things that is really is pondering me, and one of them, it is the comprehension of the people on electoral matters. One of them is local government. Local government is different from regional and general elections. Why do I say it's different? Because local government, it is not the kind of elections that you think it is. Local government is to elect a representative. You, the electors, to elect a representative of your area in question to represent you directly on matters of community development. That's what local government is, not the central government. And when I mean local government, I mean mayor and town council of councillors, and I mean neighborhood democratic council and councillors. And why do I say that? It is because these people who you elect has direct responsibility to you who are living in these neighborhoods. And remember, I normally used to say, hold your elected representatives accountable. These are the people. Because these are the people that are supposed to go to council. When elected, whenever they have these issues at hand pertaining to your neighborhood and make representations on your behalf. Why do I say it's different? Well, normally, the trick of the trade is that whichever party is in government, those are the parties that will normally want to be part of the local government body so you can get the proper contractual agreement for the development of your areas. I'm going to give you an example. You see the highway road that is being developed. Oh, hold on. Oh, hold on a bit for me, please. Okay, good. Right. You see the highway road that is being developed? That highway road is developed for certain particular purposes. And it is to give access to the new highway that is being developed for the East Bank thoroughfare. That's the second highway. So what is happening now in that new highway, hold on, is that it is running through Mocha Arcadia New Settlers Village. So if you're issuing a contract like that, normally parts of that contract supposed to be for the development of the areas, which you call a community development contract. All of them, because the central government has no authority of the areas of the local authority. The central government is supposed to work with the local authority in order to develop those areas according to law. So what is happening? Members or villagers of the Mocha Arcadia New Settlers Village doesn't have access to working on that contract because the people who has the contract in hand is not employing anybody of that village when they're supposed to, because that contract is passing through what you call a local authority area. Second, there's no community development agreement on that contract for that particular area. So then nobody's working on it. So the councillors are the person who's supposed to be involved when that contract is being issued. So the contractor shall know when they meet that area in specific that that particular area has to be some sort of beneficiary of that contract for development, because the contract is being issued in such a way it is known as a community development contract. But they're not going to tell you that. They're going to say, oh, let us use the fraudulent conversions. Some one of them get a contract to start the development of the new East Bank Highway, and that's it. They say you meet the requirement because it bid and all of these things, but what happens is that the de facto regime gives these contracts out without the beneficiary of the communities that these contracts would be surrounding, the areas of surroundings within these communities that are adjoined to the local authorities. So what happened when the party in power in question, like for instance the PPP, the PPTP, People's Progressive Terrorist Party, they cannot win Georgetown. By the hooks or any crooks, they cannot win Georgetown because they know Georgetown never voted in their favor. Because they cannot win Georgetown, they now are saying that they're going to stymie the areas of Georgetown. Let me show you another story. The de facto regime issued a $1 billion contract in the areas of Pontrench Dam. That $1 billion, $1 billion, that $1 billion is running through district number 10 and district number 11. To those who know what I'm talking about, you realize that the thing only reached to Hunter Street and stop. Can't continue in district number 11. Why it cannot continue in district number 11? Because the councilman for that area decided to get involved. One of the issues are that at least 30% of your workforce must come from his area. So his community can get some sort of development by way of employment. Not only that, but his community and community centers can develop by the issuance of stipulations of the contract. There's no stipulation, it's just a plain contract. So he has enacted the local government authority law, which is well within his powers. So that case now is supposed to be before the courts, because you cannot issue a contract for a community development, because that's what that contract is about, is to develop the roadway and walkway of the area. $1 billion. You got to look at it and ask yourself, does this make sense? If you have $1 billion running through your area, nobody's employed. Your community is not developed, is not getting any process or proceeds from this contract. What kind of development are you talking about? Road? The people can't eat road. The people can't eat a walkway. And they know most of the people in that particular area lives under a what you call an oppressed position. It means that certain things they can't afford. They're living under the poverty line. So when you run contracts to the area, they can't talk about it because they're in no position to make decisions for themselves. That's what the de facto regime is doing. Another thing, they're going into your areas to do walkabouts, which is fine, and sharing out 15, 20 something thousand, 250,000. Hey, you know what? I telling you, I'll take the money. It is your money that they're giving you back. You pay taxes. Take the money to your money. It belongs to you, not the people who are sharing it out. But they're sharing it out in the pretense of goodwill because they're trying to seek your votes, because they want to hold a snap election. We can come round to it just now. So because that is the fact of the matter, now we're getting to the greasy part of the story. They don't want to hold local government election because they know they cannot win. The PPP has a history in Georgetown. When they reigned from 2000 to 2010, the murder rate was so high that 1,450 persons that lives in and around Georgetown in the Region 4 area died under the hands of the PPP, the murderous regime. So they're trying to now to come to a bedrock where they're setting a fraud alley to maybe to go into the villages and smile with people so people can have something to smile back at him. Oh yes, he can come and smile. But he reigned in that particular period when people were dying. It was his ministry that Two Colors was employed, the same person that they fingered in the murder of MFK. Yes, that same young man. It was his ministry that he was employed under because he was Minister of Tourism Authority. It was his ministry. That is why they fingered him in the acknowledgement of the murder of MFK, the guy that had the supermarket at the end of Hatfield and High Street. Can you remember that place before we meet Ashwins? Of course. So he's not out of the bag as yet. So I'm talking about the local government elections now. So they don't want the local government elections because the candidates for the area must verify the persons on the list that has the right to vote. If the persons are not on that list, well then it is brought to the authority of the chief elections office, who forwards that information to the domicile authorities of the chair of the Ghana Elections Commission, all of them, pack of domiciles. So that is, they don't want that. So what they're doing now, they issue the list in regional general elections by the first way of rigging. So because they issue that list, maybe we can't see properly. But it was brought to the attention by the chief scrutineer, who now has them in court for it. And now they're turning around to arrest her for fraud. See where I'm going? So she shouldn't have an authority to take them to court. Now, they have turned around and issued a list of local government electors, the elections list, the local government elections list, and they gave us like roughly 15 days to query it. When the law says it's more, I think it's 110 days that's supposed to give us. Because when you announce the date of when you announce the date where you bring in the list to contest the local government election, we're supposed to have enough dates to query the list and people whose name is on that list to vote. They didn't give us that. So now they're fighting for that. We're fighting for that, and they don't want that to happen. Whilst they have the fraudulent conversion having mixtures of epiphany in her head at the COI, the Commission of Inquiries into the Elections. And whilst they have in a Court of Appeal, Elections Petition 88, which now challenge the legality of Order 60. So when you combine all three of those things together, they want to confuse the public and eventually called a snap election. They want to see how much you are aware. So they're trying to push into the heads of the young people. It makes no sense to vote at this time because it's confusing. And the young people are already tired because they went and voted for the APNU to get into power. And now that has been taken away from them. So they're using that opportunity to say, well, because they're frustrated, because they can tell themselves they're going to vote again because they voted predominantly by an outright position. And that position was taken, their will was taken from them. That's the fact. So while all these things are happening, now we're coming down to the greasy part of the story. So they're trying to push an event of an electoral process like what happened in 2020, where they're going to say now, the elections are running based upon credibility, because that's a new norm. So they want the same thing for the local government elections, based upon credibility, not valid votes, credibility. Like what they did in 2020. And it's the same thing they're trying to do back again. And why I say that, I must help those who are looking to comprehend. I'm going to use an example of Haiti. The Haitian president that was executed, he was never elected on a majority. As a matter of fact, he was never elected even on the smallest of the minority. He gained 6% of the votes, and he was put into power by then the US government. Yes, the same thing happened to us here in Guyana. The PPP lost the elections at least by 25,000 votes. They could have never won the elections by no terminology at all. So what happened? The US put them into power and claimed credibility of an election. So now they're trying to do the same thing. But here, what's the problem now? The problem that the census was already taken, that we comprehend roughly it's about 450,000 persons on the list of elections to vote in any elections coming up. And the PPP knows that majority of those persons that we're talking about lives in Region 4. Region 4, which they have lost by a great margin. They have gotten 60,000 votes from Region 4. Region 4 is a predominantly population of roughly 260,000. 260,000. That is why they're trying to break up Region 4, because if you combine, and here, they can't win Region 7, which is Bartica. They can't win Region 10, which is Linden. They can't win Region 4, which is which has the Georgetown City. They can't even win Region 3. By a margin of success, they can't even win Region 3. They do not have a voting constituency. Region 2 is gone. It's a skeleton. It's a place where less people live. People have vanished off a region, and that's Upper Essequibo. Upper Essequibo and Lower Essequibo, they lost it. In Region 5, they don't have the kind of constituencies to vote for them in Region 5 because majority of the people has migrated. And that's what's happening. Certain parts of Region 6, they can, even if they win it, it's by a lower majority of a margin. They do not have the population to vote for them. That means they do not have a voting constituency. They can never win. Even if they try the outskirts and the Amerindian villages where they're claiming to win it outright, but it's by a smaller majority. So if you combine that together, they cannot win an election by at least 10,000 votes. Much less. They have lost considerably. I don't know about people, but I cannot hide the truth. I cannot pretend that the truth is viable and what you're hearing is the truth and the direct truth. I am not going to be those leaders who are going to sit down and lie to you because based upon politics. If you realize what I'm saying, these people are so afraid of an electoral process that they don't know what's next. But I'm going to tell you what's next. They are willing to burn Guyana to the ground, to concede to the APNU. They are willing to burn Guyana to the ground. That's what they want to do. And they believe handing out money is good. They already knew that handing out money making no sense because they did it. In 2015, you remember? They walk around this place and they shared out money even in 2010, 2011 elections for Ramatar. They shared out money and people went and voted the exact opposite. So they knew what is going to come because no matter how much money they share out, we already know people know how to stay. So you cannot convince them. They already know these things. So what is the conversation? The conversation is that the people are seeing the truth on a daily basis. Now, we should have another conversation where we elect the leaders that we want, that you want, not only to run your area of constituencies to see that you are being awarded the right things, but to elect the politicians that have to represent you. Well, I say from inception, and I keep saying it, I'm not a politician. I'm a revolutionist. That means when I get to sit on that council, it's me and the PPP. I'm telling you that. It's me and the PPTP, the People's Progressive Terrorist Party. Because they ain't got no politics gaff with me. Me ain't got time for sit down and lie to the people. I'm being straight up and bold. So you know where Gavin Matthews-Bey is concerned, there's nothing that you can come around me funny with. I've already been there and done that. I was arrested once, kidnapped second. You know, I want to talk about that. I had that conversation the other night again, where I spoke to some supporters of mine and they asked me about that same thing. And I said to them, the worst part of that experience was that I've survived it. That's the worst part of the experience. And I had to explain to the young man. I said, because you know when you're kidnapped, you know your demise is near. Politically, you already know what the PPTP can do when they pick you up. So I was preparing myself for that. As the time drew nearer, as the place started to get brighter, I already knew that I was going to die. I prepared myself, my body, my soul, my mind, everything, and to know that I've survived it, it is one of the most horrific experiences, and it still is, because psychologically it has an effect. So I'm telling you now, it's not only as Guyanese Citizens Stock Corporation, now is the time to stand up for your rights. Now is the time to go and vote. Show the same slave masters, you call them the ABC countries, because I call them slave masters, show the same slave masters that you are not willing to give up your lives for a stupid plantation, because the plantation is their ideologies. You're not willing to give up your lives for a stupid plantation, but you're willing to have a say in your labors of the plantation. And that say is that you must elect a leader of your choice. Your will is that you must elect a leader of your choice. You must be given that will. That will must not be taken from you. And that your political leaders must have a say according to the Constitution on behalf of you. Your representatives like me must be given that opportunity to represent you at all costs. Your rights must not be trampled upon. This man that you call Dr. Matthews-Bey ain't no easy opponent. Ain't no easy opponent. And I got another half cracker that's called me from their part of the party overseas, trying again. First, when they started, was 15, and then they said 25. I talk about million, and I refused both. Now the cracker calling back. He wants to give 100,000, and they're saying it in a diplomatic way. Right, Star Hard, I don't care. He wants to give $100,000, 100,000 US, as donation to the campaign. These crackers, boy. As much as I'm in need, I ain't gonna accept that. I'm not going to sit back and watch my people die all over again, suffer and punish. I am not going to see that happen. Not while these two eyes are open. I will prevail on behalf of you, my people. That is my intention. That is why I stand, not only to represent you, but to do it on a basis where you must benefit from the proceeds of this corporation that you're in. Not one type of people, not a few, all must benefit. You must benefit. So when the crackers come around, they must be able to say, well, look, I can't bargain with one set of people. I got to bargain with both sets, or 3 sets, or 4 sets. Nobody running around this place bluffing you but one Guyana. And taking away one people, one nation, and one destiny. Because when you study about one Guyana, there is no destiny for it. The destiny for one Guyana is a collar around your neck and a whip across your back. By Crackerjack Ali. Because he's running around this place posing as your slave master. Telling you if you go in the field and you work hard and pick the cotton, they're going to give you some bonus. Can you imagine? 23 years and they have never developed your community. As an Aboriginal person, never developed your community. And they're talking about 5 years of the APNU AFC. And how bad they were because they never, as a little child says that you ain't got role models. Well, here now, I prefer be a role model to my people than to have a murderer to be a role model for me. Or to have a terrorist group that you call the People's Progressive Terrorist Party to be role models for me, because there ain't got nobody there who can be a role model for me. These are the crackerjacks that I'm talking about. By the way, though, I want to say thank you for your time that you have joined with me and be able to hear from this wonderful person that you call Dr. Matthews-Bey. I want to say that tonight's program comes to you with the kind compliments of event management services, Greenleaf Distributors, Black Love, which are all businesses pertaining to me. I want to wish you well until when you hear from me tomorrow. There is some problems, but I can try to get them solved. And I'm looking forward for your support in this venture of being your local representative. Once again, stay safe, be careful, sanitize yourself, and wear a mask. Don't forget the little ones you take into public places. This is Dr. Matthews-Bey saying good night and Cheerios for now.